Welcome back to another episode of What the Poop, the podcast where we talk about the stuff that no one wants to talk about, life with invisible illness. I'm Teri Holland, and today we're going to talk specifically about ulcerative colitis, something I am very familiar with. If you have been diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, or you know someone who has, you are in the right place. Welcome to What the Poop, the podcast where we get real about life with ulcerative colitis. I'm your host, Teri Holland, and as someone who has lived with ulcerative colitis for over 3 decades, I know firsthand how unpredictable, exhausting, and isolating this journey can be. But I also know there's power in sharing our stories and supporting one another. So whether you're newly diagnosed or a seasoned UC warrior like me, we're here to laugh, learn, and tackle the tough stuff together. Let's dive into the realities of living with ulcerative colitis because no one should have to do it alone. We're going to unpack what it is, how it impacts daily life, and some ways to manage it. So let's get started. First, what is ulcerative colitis? Well, UC is a type of inflammatory bowel disease, or IBD, that causes chronic inflammation and ulcers in the lining of your colon and rectum. Very similar to Crohn's disease, but different in that Crohn's can affect any part of the digestive tract. UC is limited to the large intestine, or the colon. So what are the symptoms? Well, the symptoms can range from mild to severe, and can often include things like abdominal pain, diarrhea, and bloody stools. Those are I call them the acute symptoms. I don't know if that's the proper medical term. Full disclosure, I am not a doctor or a medical professional. I'm just a person who lives with this. So those are the main symptoms, or I call them the acute symptoms. But let's look at some of the other potential symptoms. And this comes from Penn Medicine, and I have experienced many of these myself. So symptoms of ulcerative colitis, they say on their website, may include pain in the abdomen, the belly area, and cramping. A gurgling or splashing sound heard over the intestine. Bloody or possibly pus in the stools. Diarrhea from only a few episodes to very often. Fever. Feeling that you need to pass stools even though your bowels are already empty. And it may involve straining, pain, and cramping. Weight loss. Side note, weight loss seems to be the one symptom I never get unless I'm having an extreme flare-up. Then I start to lose weight. I never get that one. I think, and I would like to lose some weight. So I feel like of all the things this disease can do, I don't get the weight loss. That's probably a good thing. Other symptoms people may experience are outside of the colon, like joint pain and swelling, mouth sores or mouth ulcers, nausea and vomiting, skin lumps, or ulcers. I have had the majority of these symptoms. The joint pain for me has been absolutely excruciating at times. Now, the diagnosis process can be kind of tricky for ulcerative colitis because ulcerative colitis can be unpredictable and you can go through periods of flare-ups and remission. Often the tests include colonoscopies, blood tests, stool samples, none of which are fun, but it's important to get these tests done to manage the disease. Well, first to diagnose it properly and then to manage it. Okay, let's talk about the impact on daily life. Living with UC can be incredibly challenging. Physically, it can affect everything from your ability to work, to socializing, to simply leaving your house. Imagine having to plan your day around where the nearest bathroom is, because that's the reality for many of us living with UC. I always joke that if someone needs to know where the bathroom is in any public setting, just ask me, because even when I'm in remission, I am always super aware of where the bathrooms are at any given time. It's kind of a running joke between my husband and I because he'll always just turn to me and say, "Where's the bathroom here?" Because he knows that I already know. Even if I've never been to this place, even if I haven't used the bathroom there, I will know where it is, just in case. And it's not just the physical symptoms, but the emotional toll can be just as tough, sometimes even more tough. The anxiety of a potential flare-up, the feelings of isolation, and sometimes even depression that come with this disease. That's why mental health support is so crucial when it comes to dealing with a chronic illness like ulcerative colitis. I'm going to share in a future episode some of the emotional tolls that ulcerative colitis have had on me and how I've handled that part of it. But we're not there yet. That's just for a future episode. So let's talk about the social challenges. Trying to explain UC to friends, family, and coworkers can be especially tricky, especially because it's an invisible illness. You might look fine on the outside, but internally, there's a lot going on. And in fact, I talked about that in just the last episode entitled, "But You Don't Look Sick," because often we don't look sick. And so people have a hard time understanding that we're actually struggling internally. Finding a way to communicate your needs without feeling like a burden is a balancing act that many of us can struggle with. So how do you manage that? Well, I'll be sharing tips for that in later episodes for sure, and how to deal with the social conversations. I think for me, though, right now, I've just become so desensitized to talking about it that I just tell people I have ulcerative colitis, and I tell them what it is if they don't know. And I no longer carry any shame about it. But it's taken me over 3 decades to get here. So if you're someone who's newly diagnosed, it's okay if you still don't know how to talk about it. We're going to cover that in future episodes. Okay, let's spend a little bit of time talking about management and treatment options. So the good news is that there are several treatments available now. When I was first diagnosed, there was really, the treatment options were limited to taking medication that I always forget the name, mesalamines, I can never say it correctly, but it's a type of medication that's often the first offense prescribed for ulcerative colitis. And in my case, I don't respond to them very well. Some people do, some don't. I don't. But when I was first diagnosed, that was the only option, was this line of drugs. I took Pentasa, which is one of them. And it comes in oral forms, it comes in suppository forms, it comes in enema formats. Unfortunately, I responded better to the enemas, so I had to do the enemas. And then there were steroids for when things got really bad, mainly prednisone. And then surgery. That's when I was diagnosed. Those were the options available to me. Luckily, I was able to avoid surgery, but it got pretty close a few times. But now, there are much better drugs. And some of them include immunosuppressants, but there's a whole line now of biologic drugs that are pretty fantastic. And then still surgery is an option in severe cases, but that's usually the last resort. Now, I don't want to spend too much time talking about medications in this episode because I feel like I need to understand a lot more about them before I can share that information. And that might be an episode where I bring on a specialist to talk about that. So let's go beyond the medication. Lifestyle plays a huge part in managing UC. Diet is a big one, as you can imagine. What you eat can significantly impact your symptoms. But there's no one-size-fits-all approach for ulcerative colitis. Many people find relief by avoiding foods that they find triggering, staying hydrated, and incorporating more anti-inflammatory foods into their diet. But there's no one-size-fits-all diet for UC. We might find some commonalities, but for everyone, it's going to vary quite a bit. And I think it's also important to recognize that food does not cause ulcerative colitis. It might seem like it should, right? If I just cut out these foods, if I change my diet, I shouldn't be sick anymore. And I have played that game many times. And we'll do, I think, probably many episodes on nutrition. Stress is another critical factor in managing ulcerative colitis. Stress can exacerbate symptoms, so finding ways to relax and decompress is really important, whether that's through meditation, exercise, hobbies that you enjoy. All of these things can make a big difference in managing your symptoms and managing how you feel about your symptoms as well. And don't forget about sleep. Quality rest is essential for overall health and well-being, especially when dealing with a chronic condition. I know one of the challenges of ulcerative colitis is that sometimes it wakes us up during the night. I have that challenge where when I'm in a flare-up, I get worse symptoms overnight than during the day, and that can make it really difficult to manage sleep and to get enough rest. That's why I think taking naps and having a flexible schedule as much as you're able to is really valuable. How can you live well with ulcerative colitis? Living with UC is not easy, but it's possible to lead a fulfilling life with the right tools and the right mindset. And mindset is so crucial in dealing with any kind of chronic illness. So here are some tips that have helped me and have helped other people in the UC community. So one is be prepared. Have a just-in-case bag with essentials like wipes, change of clothes, and any medications you may need on the go. 2, stay connected, whether it's through online forums, local support groups, or just a friend who gets it. You need to have a place where you can vent and talk about these issues, where people get it. And 3, focus on the positive. It's so easy to get bogged down by the negatives of this disease. But celebrate small victories. Maybe you've had a symptom-free day. Maybe a positive doctor's visit or some positive lab work came back. And by positive, I mean good lab work, not positive like it showed something. You know what I mean. These are things that can boost your mood and keep you motivated. And also remember that our disease does not define us. Whatever illness you're struggling with does not define who you are. We are all so much more than a collection of symptoms. So if you're looking for more information and more support, there are some great resources like the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. They provide a lot of valuable information and can connect you with support groups. Reach out. I found a lot of support on Reddit I never know what it's called. Is it a sub? Is that what they call it on Reddit, where you have like a subreddit or something? Anyway, there's a whole community for Crohn's and colitis on there. And there's a lot of support. Sometimes you just need to vent to someone who gets it and knows what you're feeling, what you're going through. And before we wrap up today, I want to encourage you to stay proactive about your health, whether that means scheduling those follow-up appointments that you've been avoiding, trying a new stress relief technique, going for a walk, or simply talking about your condition more openly. Every step counts towards your overall well-being. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of What the Poop. If you found this helpful, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might benefit from it. You can also follow my new Instagram account that I will put in the show notes, and it's just for this show. So there's not much there yet, considering the show just launched last night. There's not a lot there, but I will be posting regular content there. And yeah, so join me there, or you can find me on any of my other social media channels at the Teri Holland. And stay tuned for the next episode, where we will dive into, well, I don't know yet. I actually don't know what I'm going to talk about in the next one yet, but it'll be good. I promise it'll be good. So remember, take care. You are not in this journey alone, my friend. And until next time, have an amazing day. Bye for now.